This lighting is horrible, but I'm in a new office space. What do we think, other than the crap lighting? But we're gonna go with it anyway. Let's not talk about it. Let's do an update. Hi, my name is Anne Quinn. I'm an indie author hoping to release my first romance novel this November 2024. And if you want to follow my journey into self-publishing, just follow my channel. The story is about a young woman whose dad works with the local Chinese triads out in LA, and she recently finds out that her brother has been murdered. So she's assigned a personal bodyguard, and things just go from there. It is a bodyguard romance story. There is spice, there is mystery, and it's just packed ton with romance. So today we're going to talk about character development, specifically what I did when it came to creating our male and female characters for this story, and then also some updates on where we're at when it comes to release. So when it comes to developing characters, what I have a tendency to do, and this is kind of like an old practice I got from like anime characters, because I used to follow a lot of anime and manga and stuff from that's coming out of Japan. So one of the things that I used to do is when I pick names, I pick the names based on the character as a person, or it's kind of like alludes to the character. You see it in manga and anime now. Like, for example, the best example I can think of is Kurosaki Ichigo. He is the lead character in Bleach. Now, the word Ichigo means strawberry in Japanese, and if you've ever seen any character art of him, he has really red ginger hair. So that's kind of like talks about how he has like red hair, like Ichigo, a strawberry, is red. Another example I can think of is if you think of Naruto, the character Uchiha Sasuke. His last name is Uchiha, which is literally the word for like a fan, like a paddle fan in Japan. But those are called Uchiwas. The alphabet is obviously that their writing styles is obviously a little different. Sometimes their H's, their H symbol is an altered version of their W symbol and things like that. So that's kind of where I usually start when it comes to naming the characters. So with Himeko, her name means princess, because the word Hime means princess, and that is a Japanese name. And Keikoa is our male character, and that word means warrior or strength in Hawaiian. And because he's a bodyguard, I wanted something allude to who he was and who he was going to be, how he was like, he is strong, he's a warrior, and things like that. So in the start of the story, Himeko is 21, and she was born and raised in Los Angeles. You can hear it in her dialogue. You can like or read it in her dialogue, and you can see the way that she acts. That she's very Californian. And in terms of her personality, I wanted her to be kind of icy, like almost like my sisters called her like an ice princess. And she's actually warm to people who she's really familiar with and close to, specifically her best friend and her brother, her twin brother. But most of the time, if you met her for the first time, she would just kind of be like kind of standoffish and almost antisocial and very quiet. She actually was modeled after a friend I had in undergrad. She was very shy in class. She barely spoke, but she and I actually were study buddies. And when I was alone with her, she was completely opposite. She was snarky. She was like funny and playful, and it's because honestly I think she and I got close over time, because we would actually spend our weekends together studying, and we would spend our downtime in the weekdays studying together. So, and her snark and her humor, I think it came from the fact that she had like 2 older brothers, so she was like the baby who was always like getting picked on by her older brothers. So I think that's where that came from in terms of her personality. Now with Keikoa, which I nicknamed Kei throughout the entire book, he's 25 at the start of the story. And I wanted him to be like an island boy. Like, I wanted him to not come from LA, not come from like this kind of, I wanted him to be opposite in terms of, you know, where Himeko's background is from. So I wanted him to be half Japanese, half Hawaiian. And I eventually was going between Big Island and Kauai of where he was from. And then I ended up picking Kauai. It was, to me, it felt more, I think for me, I wanted Kauai because it was such a physical difference from LA versus like the islands. Because if you go to Waikiki, Honolulu specifically, Honolulu, it's very, it's the capital of the state of the islands. So it is very like a commercial center. So I wanted something visually completely different. So Kauai fit the bill. And specifically, he was born and raised in a town called Kapa'a. I believe is how you pronounce it. On the island of Kauai. And now when it came to his personality, where it came from is that there are bits and pieces of my husband in terms of like his chivalry in that sense. But one of the things that I really wanted to focus on with Kei is that he has endured loss before the story starts. Now, usually, at least with, in this case, at least with Kei's case, that there comes a sense of maturity that comes with experiencing loss at a relatively young age. And with that, he also has a very strong extended family. His ohana, essentially. And that, I think, helped keep his moral compass in place. And also it helped him have a great amount of empathy and positivity. So I wanted that to be very relevant in the book. So that's how I got them started. Now, visuals help too. So sometime after a couple chapters of writing, sometimes what I do is I kind of look at like different people like on the internet, and I kind of just see like, okay, visually, like what would their model be? What would they look like? Now with Himeko, I wanted someone who looked almost like unconventionally pretty. So I started looking at these random like Chinese models and like actresses, and I found a picture of Li, I think her name is Li Xiaolu. This is an older picture of her from a few years ago, but to me, she looked like what Himeko would look like. She's unconventionally pretty, almost elf-like. Like basically, if there was like elves in Lord of the Rings, how they're just like ridiculously beautiful and like almost not of this world, that's what I imagined Himeko to look like. And this is kind of like a visual representation, kind of what I had in my head when I was writing. Now, Kei, I wanted him to look like a really interesting mix, because again, he is a mix of a Japanese father and a local Hawaiian woman. So I found a picture of Hideo Muraoka. I hope I pronounced their names right. Hideo Muraoka. He is a model, and I believe he's half Portuguese, half Japanese. And to me, he just vibed as like what I imagine Kei Koa to look like. Hideo had the mix of what the vibes I wanted to capture for Kei, like good looking, strong, like have that. And so Kei has cat tattoos on his body, and I got that idea because if you see some pictures of Hideo's modeling career, you can actually see sometimes he has like his jeans set really low, and you can actually see like weaving of tattoos on like his hip bone, like kind of right where his V line is. And I liked that idea, and I wanted to add that in. Now, I thought tattoos would be an important idea for Kei because Polynesian tattoo culture is pretty prevalent on the islands. There is this idea of tattoos representing certain things, whether it's strength or fertility or things like that. I mean, honestly, you see it a lot when you look at people who are from the island, or even like Polynesian dancers. Like you see there's tattoos, like whether it's, you know, under their lips, or like on their hips, or on their thighs, like, or on their biceps or chest. Like, you know, you see them, and there are stories and meanings behind the tattoos, and I wanted Kei to have those as well. Now, when it comes to developing characters in general, I usually just try to have a basics idea, like a basic outline. Their name, their age at the start of the story, maybe their birthday, because sometimes their zodiac or their Lunar New Year signs like help assist when it comes to like trying to figure out their personality. But also what I do is I have like personality points. And one thing that I also like to think about is like, what is their defining point in their life? Like, for example, with Himeko, one of her defining characteristics that I developed is that she does not like being vulnerable. And I wrote in like, when did that happen? When did she decide that she didn't want to be vulnerable? And that's why she became very like closed off. And for her, it was like her senior year in high school, and that kind of defined like her trajectory into her young adulthood. You could do this in different ways. Some people I've seen actually like write a scene out, like write a full chapter out. It may never get published or be seen by the public, but it's for the writer to have an understanding on how to do things, or how to like, basically it's a way for the author to have an understanding of how to start the character and then how to make them evolve from there. I personally don't write out the full chapter. I at least define the moment of change, like what happened. Like, for example, like I said, her senior year was her defining moment of what made her vulnerable, and then I start listing things like why, and like her mindset and things like that. So I write it out like that. There's no wrong way to do it. I've also seen some people, they just have it all in their head, and then they just write, and then they kind of like edit backwards in developmental edits and say basically, okay, well, this is how I wanted her in the end, so I'm gonna have to go back and then kind of like tweak things as I go. So there's no wrong way to do it. Creative process is all very different, and everyone's brains are very different, so it's just a matter of like what you need to do in order to get to your end goal. But one thing I think, honestly, and I think what a lot of people like seeing in novels is that they like seeing at least the main character see a shift. Like they want, like the readers want to see how the person shifts. Like, because if the person stays the same, it's like, what the hell was the point of reading that if like they stay the same and nothing has changed? And so it's not as satisfying, I think. So if at least one of the characters shows a shift in things, or shows a shift in their development, then I think that's more more engaging and entertaining. And in case you're curious, when it comes to Kay, his defining moment was leaving the islands, because his defining characteristic is his helpfulness and him wanting to help and see the best in people, and that happens when he leaves the islands. I don't want to go too much into it because really the story has like little bits and pieces, and you kind of can, and it alludes what happens to everyone. So I'm gonna leave it there. But then if you guys have questions after release, I think I'll be more open to talk about like their character shifts and things like that. So yeah. All right. Updates. So, update on Himeko's story. We did some final edits. My editors did a second run through, just to make sure all the edits that they suggested, and that I redid were like good to go. So I reformatted the print version because I got the proof through Amazon, and yes, I cried. I opened this and I cried, and I was like, oh my god, this is happening. And it was crazy. And this is the back of the book. I'm not going to show you the front yet. I'm going to do a cover reveal sometime later. But as you can see, it's Amazon KDP. They have this like not for resale, atrocious barcode, whatever. I'm also covering the actual barcode because I don't know, reasons. But you can see that it's it's a very cool colored palette. You know, again, ice princessy. Like as a suggestion for my cover designer, I think this was a good idea. So I can't wait to see how Hiko's book will look, because it's going to be roughly like, it's going to be the same size in terms of, I picked a 5-inch or 525 by 8. So I can't wait to see how they'll look together. And this is a honking big book. The original draft was 440 something. Yeah. And I whittled it down because of spacing of some words and things like that. I whittled it down to like 439. So that wasn't much. It's important to see proof copies, because after you look at a digital version for so long, then it starts getting a little, you start getting a little blind to some of the digital forms. And one of the reasons why I wanted to see it printed is because there are certain things you're just like, under the printed medium, you're just like, oh, wait, that doesn't look right. Like, oh, wait, why didn't I not see that on the monitor? That's crazy. So, like, for example, let me see. So, like, for example, here's one of the pages, and I have, like, text message icons, and I was able to see doing it this way that, like, the justification for this bubble was not correct compared to the rest of them. So I had to change those up. Things like that. And yeah, it's so cool just seeing it like this, and it's so amazing, and I cannot wait. So that was printed through Amazon. I am going to print another proof through another company, either Barnes & Noble or Draft to Digital, more for PR purposes, and also for marketing purposes, and we'll talk about that in a minute here. But another update is Hiko's manuscript is done. I finished it almost, let me see, a month ago? Maybe a month? Maybe at least 2 weeks? Which is crazy for me to think about, because I started that story roughly around March, and then I finished it in September. So that means I finished that in the actual year, versus Himeko's story, I took, you know, the first 10 chapters was like written back in 2017. And then from chapters 11 and to the epilogue, which is like 36, I think, Technically episode or chapter 36 was when I finished the rest in like 6 months. So I think I can write a book roughly around 6 months time. So I cannot wait to start that. I'm letting it sit for now, and then I'm actually after I let it sit, I'm going to once I finish with fully formatting Himeko's story, because right now I have to now format the ebook and I'm having a little trouble with it. It's putting in weird spaces in the ebook version. I just want to make sure that people who are reading it on the ebook version, they can get it, like it's easy to read on their Paperwhites, because I'm trying to remove the amount of pictures I have in this book, and I'm trying to convert them into something that's easier for a Paperwhite to read. So hopefully that'll work. But it's kind of giving me trouble. So after I'm done with that, and then after I finalize like some of my marketing stuff, then I'm gonna start going into Hiko's story and then just do out loud edits, developmental edits, and then I'm gonna send it over to my editors so they can also give like some beta suggestions. And then after that, I'm gonna try to, I think this time I'm gonna try to we will see. I am going to try to release that book, Hiko's book, in the summer of 2025. I don't know if that's actually possible, because with Himeko's book, it's actually nice that it's a November release, because the book actually starts like roughly the first couple of weeks of December. So it starts off in the winter, and then with Hiko's book, it starts in the summer. Like it actually starts late June. So that's a tentative and ambitious plan, but we will see how that works out for me. I'm not hopeful, but I am optimistic. That doesn't really make sense, but you know what I mean, right? Okay. Also, I have a website. It's going to be www.annecorinnequinn.com, but it's still under construction. I have the majority of the website finished. It's just that I'm still trying to figure out the mailing list situation, because I do want to have a mailing list launched, because I had started mailing lists giveaway things, like an extra chapter of Himeko's story, some like character art and things like that. I wanted to give those specifically to the people on the mailing list. And once I figure out how to do that, in terms of like how to start the mailing list, then I will go from there. Oh boy. But anyway, now for marketing, not only am I going to try to figure out the mailing list, but I will down the amount of booktubers to about 20 people on the list. If there are some people who have been inactive on YouTube for like 6 months or more, I at least try to look at their other stuff like TikTok or Instagram or Goodreads, and like see if they're actually active maybe somewhere else, because maybe YouTube isn't for like long form YouTube is not that easy for some people. So I was thinking, oh, maybe they're just more active on TikTok or more active on Instagram. Maybe if that's the case, then I don't mind still reaching out to them. But anyone who hasn't been active in any of their social medias for at least 6 months, I removed from the list. But I do have a good mix. The majority of them are from the United States. I actually found some from LA, some from Honolulu, and then also I found some from Canada and the UK. Now it's just a matter of me, getting off my keister and reaching out to them, because I'm shy. Now it's just a matter of me actually like putting out a letter to them and like, hey, how's it going? Would you like a free book? And all I ask is an honest review. Teehee. But hey, if you're actually interested in reading an advanced copy and leaving a review, I will have it up on like a hosting site, like either Story Origins or Book Sirens, whichever one I can get into. And once I have it verified, then I can put it up on YouTube and let y'all know that, hey, it's available if you want to download. So yeah. Now in the last video I talked about starting up an LLC, and I actually did. So my husband took care of everything. He hired someone to do all the paperwork, and he just kind of kept, and he really kept up on it. And yeah, so I have my own publishing press house, and I will be publishing all my work under that name. And it's really exciting to like say I am CEO of VS Press House LLC, but also I get to say that I have creative freedom when it comes to my stories. So that's also nice to know. And I didn't really think about that at the time until like, it's like, yeah, you're the CEO. You can do whatever you want when it comes to the creativity of, you know, what books come out and what doesn't. Because not only do I have Hiko's book finished in terms of manuscripts, but I'm currently brainstorming my third book. This one is going to be completely separate from Hiko and Himeko's, like the Zhao twins. It's a completely separate world. It's not going to be more organized crime, billionaire romance, high stakes kind of storyline. It's going to be more of a character driven, developed story. And what I will tell you right now, I won't tell you too much, but what I will tell you is that it takes place in the Hampton Roads area, specifically Virginia Beach. And I will leave it there for now. I've already outlined the story. I have outlined the characters, and now it's just a matter of writing, because I started the first chapter already. So I'm like 7 pages in. So I'm like really excited about Hiko's story coming out. And then whenever I finish this other one, it's just very different. And I'm excited about that too. It's always fun to do a challenge. And then, yeah, after that, the campaign for Himeko's story starts in November. Like 1st of November, I'm planning to have like marketing stuff. And yeah. So I think that's my update for now. I'll try not to make these videos way too long, because the past ones have been like at least over 25 minutes. So we'll see how long this one is. And I'll try to be a little more active on YouTube. And I really need to start my Instagram and my TikTok. I have a lot of stuff to do. Jeez Louise. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.